Joining us now to discuss the new developments is Dr. Angela Fitch. She is a primary care clinician and the past president of the Obesity Medicine Association. Dr. Fitch, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So we've been seeing GLP-1s everywhere, Dr. Fitch, but injectables. Now we have the potential of this pill hitting the market with this drug trial with Eli Lilly. What is it and how is it affecting folks?
So the other GLP-1s we have, they're very hard to get into the system orally. That's why they're injections, because we can't just swallow it and get it absorbed because it's a large biological type molecule, right? This is a small molecule. It's more like a drug, more like a pill, right? Like it's a chemical small molecule that also gets absorbed easier and gets into your system faster so that you can have that GLP-1 activation by absorbing it in your stomach instead of having to inject it once a week. But you do have to take it every day. And there are side effects, right? The side effects such as nausea that we see with this class of medications is the biggest side effect that we're seeing with this pill as well.
And on average, how much are folks losing in this clinical trial when it comes to the pill form of the GLP-1?
The important thing to recognize is in these clinical trials, about 40% of people at that highest dose were able to lose greater than 15% of their weight. For some patients, they're able to get even more weight loss, if they're a higher responder to the drug. So it's going to be important to identify those patients because they're going to have now an oral agent that they can take, instead of having to take an injection once a week.
The people that struggle with obesity, for instance, is there essentially a sense that those individuals do not produce enough of the GLP-1 hormone?
We don't know, actually, because we haven't done enough of this research at a basic science level. There hasn't been a lot of focus on obesity because there's been so much stigma and bias and blame in this space of obesity for so long. There's just been this feeling for so long that it is a patient's fault, right? We just haven't had the financial focus and support on the disease of obesity because we haven't felt it's a real disease, right? We've thought of it as a moral failure, and that's what it's definitely not, right? It's not a patient's fault that they have a disease, just like it's not their fault that they have, psoriasis or cancer or asthma or other types of diseases, that they might have.
Dr. Fitch, you're also on a GLP-1 medication.
I've been on a GLP-1 pretty consistently for 12 years. And it's not something that people just can, take a medicine, make it go away and be done. It's not like an antibiotic where you take an antibiotic for your pneumonia and it gets better and then you don't need it anymore. This is something that we need to recognize as a chronic disease and treat that way, for the long run.
And how do you feel now versus how you felt 12 years ago?
I would be on my Peloton and doing my things and tracking what I'm eating and exercising, and I still would lose 5 or 10 pounds and put it back on. This is the classic story people have, because biologically we're not engineered to lose weight. We are engineered to gain weight as humans. And so when we lose weight, our body fights back and tries to put that weight back on with changing these hormones, decreasing our production of GLP-1, and then it makes us want to eat more. So having a medication to help you through that journey has been very life-changing for many patients, including myself.
Talk about how this is going to change the game. With the emergence of this pill, I imagine the accessibility of a medication like this will really change the game for those individuals that were worried, for instance, about injectables or couldn't necessarily afford it because their insurance wouldn't cover it.
Our hope is that because it's easier to manufacture, the supply chain doesn't need to be refrigerated, et cetera, that the cost will be significantly cheaper.
We are talking above 50% of Americans currently that are considered in the obese range, right? And then you think about cardiovascular disease, the whole trickle down of how kind of obesity affects individuals and the fact that they can now get this under control. How does that change things?
It really changes things dramatically, right? We know also that there's more and more research coming out that this GLP-1 activation is important in multiple areas, in anti-inflammatory areas, meaning it decreases inflammation. Many of my patients will say, I just feel so much less achy, or if they have a autoimmune disease that causes them to have like rheumatoid arthritis or other types of inflammatory diseases, those diseases tend to get better. We have data, for example, that psoriasis tends to get better when patients lose weight, but also when they're on one of these medications. We have research coming out right now on Alzheimer's and potentially a decreased risk of dementia. So there's more and more benefit to this GLP-1 activation that we're finding, over the course of time.
So now at the completion of phase 3 of this drug trial, what is your prediction as to when these pills could actually hit the market for folks?
They can fast track it with the FDA. If they fast track with the FDA, that'll be a 6-month usually is the usual time frame for fast tracking. I mean, our hope has always been that they will be out sometime next year. That depends on FDA approval and how long that takes, et cetera.
Dr. Angela Fitch, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.